Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be going over a couple of concepts as usual. We're going to start off with expressions and then mental math, expressions with variables, and finally multiplication. So let's get started. I'm going to start off with expressions first. We're going to do the highlighted problems only. So here I highlighted 7 minus 72. Might be hard to see. 7 minus 72 divided by 12 with that in parentheses. Now, you might be looking at this and it might look a little scary, but don't worry. It's actually a lot easier than you might think it is. So I think we covered this concept a couple videos ago, but this concept is called PEMDAS. So if I could just write it out. And PEMDAS stands for something. So the P stands for parentheses. E stands for exponents. The M stands for multiplication. The D stands for division. The A stands for addition. And the S stands for subtraction. Okay. What PEMDAS is, it's basically an order of operations. That's what it is. And the order of the letters is the order of which you perform the operations. For example, since the letter P is first, if there's parentheses in an expression, you always solve the numbers in the stuff in the parentheses first before anything else. And then the next priority is exponents. After parentheses comes exponents. So if there are exponents in an expression, then you would do that after parentheses, if there were any parentheses in the expression, and so on. But it gets a little weird for multiplication and division because these kind of go hand in hand, and so do addition and subtraction. The weird thing about these is that it doesn't really matter which one you do first for multiplication or division, or addition or subtraction. It just matters. But there is one rule, and you have to go from left to right. That is the rule. So, for example, let's say you had like an addition thing first, and then a subtraction thing later. Like, for example, 1 minus 1 plus 3. You would just do 1 minus 1 first before doing negative 1 plus 3. And that's just the rule. That left to right is the rule for any of the four basic operations that we have here. All right, let's get started. Let's just get started here. So I'll just write that out again. 7 minus 72 divided by 12. Okay. Now, I want you to look here and let's see if we can have anything here that fits in PEMDAS. Okay, we have parentheses here, right? And that's P, so we do them first. We do the stuff in them first before I do anything else in the expression. So, 72 divided by 12, what is that? Well, you should know that from your basic division skills, from memorizing the multiplication table, but it is actually 6. So we do 7 minus the stuff in the parentheses because we saw that already. 7 minus 6 is 1. And that's the answer. It's as easy as that. Just remember the PEMDAS rule: multiplication and division go together, and addition and subtraction go together, and you go from left to right. Okay. Now we're going to move on to mental math. So I chose this problem. Mental math is basically you want to do these without showing any work whatsoever. You want to avoid writing out the expressions. You want to do them in your head now. And that's just way easier. You'll find out doing more mental math as you go on. So it's a good thing to practice as a habit. I would do more problems. But we're going to do one only for right now. So this one gives us this. 9 times 2 is equal to 18. So, and here we can see that they just keep on adding zeros here. So they add a 1 0, and then they add 2, and then they add 3. That's the only difference that we see here in the expressions. So because they added 1 0, doesn't it make sense to add 1 0 to the answer 2? Okay, what I like to do when I look at multiplications or divisions with really, really big numbers that have zeros at the end of them, I just ignore the 0. So 9 times 2, they get that test already, right? That's 18. But they added a 0 to the 1, right? So you add 1 0 to the answer 2. So you get 180 instead of 18. Simple as that. Now let's just ignore these two zeros. 9 times 2 is 18. They gave that to us there. Two zeros are added to 2, right? So you add 2 zeros to the answer. It's 1,800. And now we're on the last one. Ignore these zeros. 9 times 2 is 18 again. And there's 3 zeros added. So it's going to be 18,000. And it's as simple as that. As long as you know the basic root expression, just ignore the zeros and add them to the end of the answer. Okay, so now we're on to expressions with variables, and it asks us to find the value of n. So I chose this problem right here. 8 times n divided by equals 8 times n equals 72,000. Okay, but before we get into anything, let's look at the equation first. We have a variable n here, right? But what do we do when we have a variable? The first step when you have a variable in an equation, an expression, whatever, is you want to isolate it. And how do we isolate this n? Remember, a variable is any letter that's an unknown value. And because n is unknown, you have to isolate it. How do we isolate this? N is being multiplied by 8. And to isolate it, we have to do the opposite, which means we have to divide both sides by 8. So let's just do that, dividing both sides by 8. And now we're left with just n, because the 8 cancels out, right? Now, we did this mental math in the last page of the worksheet. So ignore all these zeros. The same thing as multiplication, just ignore all the zeros. So 72 divided by 8 is 9, right? And they added 3 zeros, so you have to add 3 zeros to the answer too. And our answer is just 9,000. It's as easy as that. Okay, you just want to remember that you want to isolate the variable, and to do that, you want to do the opposite of what they're telling you to do.